Welcome back. We are now on to day 4 of Unit 3. So we're still talking about nutrition, but today we're going to be focusing on cellular respiration and what that looks like on a cellular level. All right, so today's aim is how does our body obtain energy from food? So there's a few things that we need to annotate in this aim. The first thing being the word energy. So today when we're talking about energy, we're talking about ATP, which is that cellular form of energy called adenosine triphosphate. Right. And today, when we're talking about food, we're of course talking about any food that you eat, but we're going to be focusing in on glucose. And remember that the formula for that is C6H12O6. So how does our body obtain ATP from glucose? Let's find out. So you've got 2 do now questions. Pause this video, answer those 2 questions, and press play when you're ready to go over it. Question number 1, the energy released when sugar molecules are broken down is stored in what? So you should have said that it is stored in ATP. This is talking about the process of cellular respiration. When we digest those sugar molecules then go into the mitochondria, which converts that energy into ATP. So the answer there is B. All right, number 2. The diagram below represents a cell organelle involved in the transfer of energy from organic compounds. The arrows in the diagram could represent the release of what? So the first thing that you should notice is that this is that bean-shaped structure known as the mitochondria. You can always notice it based on those folds that are inside of it. So anytime you see little squiggly folds inside of it, it's going to be a mitochondria. So you can automatically eliminate answer choices C and A because those mention the chloroplast. So this is an example, this is the mitochondria, so we're going to eliminate A and C. Now, in order to figure out if it's B or D, you need to know what products come out of photosynthesis, or what products come out of cellular respiration. So I'm going to write down the formula for cellular respiration. Okay, so 2 things have to go into cellular respiration. 2 things go into that mitochondria to produce energy, and that's going to be glucose, C6H12O6, and oxygen, right? And when those 2 reactants go into the mitochondria, 3 things are produced. The first thing is ATP. Remember, that is the energy that is being produced in cellular respiration, but 2 other products are formed as well, and that is carbon dioxide and water. So this question is asking us about the 3 products that are produced in cellular respiration. There are 3 arrows, and here we have 3 products. So those 3 products are going to be ATP, CO2, and H2O. So using that information, we can figure out that the answer here is going to be D. This is carbon dioxide from a mitochondria carrying out respiration. Okay. All right, so part A. We're going to be talking more about cellular respiration today and what that looks like and how that happens in the mitochondria. So yesterday's video was super long. I promised you that I'm going to try to make today's video shorter and more succinct. So let's see if I can hold myself to that promise. Okay, so part 1, cellular respiration is the process by which the chemical energy of food molecules is released and partially captured in the form of ATP. I'm going to highlight some important things there. So cellular respiration is a process where the chemical energy of food molecules is turned into ATP. Carbohydrates, fats, and proteins can all be used as fuels in cellular respiration, but glucose is most commonly used as an example to examine the reactions and pathways involved. The equation for cellular respiration is as follows. So this is the same formula I just wrote for you guys above, but I want us to talk about it one more time. So reactants, whenever we're talking about reactants, we're talking about what goes into what goes into a reaction. Okay, so what goes in? Okay, and whenever we talk about the products, this is what comes out, what is produced. So in cellular respiration, we have 2 reactants. 2 molecules go into that mitochondria, and those 2 reactants are oxygen, or O2, and glucose, which we know is C6H12, let's see if I can write this small, O6. Okay, so we have to have oxygen and glucose go into the mitochondria to start cellular respiration. But then 3 products are going to be produced. 3 things are going to come out. And those 3 things are carbon dioxide, or CO2, water, or H2O, and ATP, which is energy. Okay. So over here, you'll see another graphic. What is respiration? Respiration is the process that the body uses to release energy from digested food, namely glucose. So this is going to be super important. Where does that glucose come from? Well, you should know that that glucose comes from the food that you eat. It comes from the digestive system. I ate an apple at lunch earlier. And so right now, as that apple is being digested, those carbohydrates are being broken down into glucose, and that glucose is going to go into my mitochondria to give me energy. So glucose comes from the food that you eat. Right? Oxygen comes from the breathing system. Oxygen comes from, I guess I should do this in blue to stay with my color coordination here. Oh, hold on. I don't want to confuse anybody. All right, so here I'm going to write this in blue so we know that these are reactants. All right, back to this. Oxygen comes from the breathing system. You obviously, whenever you inhale a breath of air, that's going to include oxygen. So you have to breathe that oxygen in, and that oxygen will go to the mitochondria where it's used to undergo cellular respiration. So these things in blue are our reactants. That is what goes into the mitochondria. All right, the 3 things that are produced are carbon dioxide, right? Whenever you exhale, so you inhale oxygen, and then you exhale CO2. That is a waste product that is produced by cellular respiration. So we exhale to get that waste product out of our system. So we breathe that out. Right? Water is another waste product that's exhaled. And that water is going to come out in the form of water vapor when you speak, or water droplets. So again, we're going to breathe that out as well. And finally, the most important product of them all, energy. This is the whole reason this process happens is to give our cells energy to function. Okay, so let's move on to questions A and B. Cellular respiration is the process by which the blank available in food molecules, for example, glucose, is used to produce energy in the form of a molecule known as blank. So if you remember from the passage, this is the process by which the chemical energy of food molecules, so the answer here is chemical energy, is turned into energy in the form of ATP. Okay, and where does that glucose used in respiration come from? So remember what I told you guys right here. This comes from the food that you eat. Right, and note that it has to be broken down by the digestive system before it can be used by the mitochondria, because those molecules of glucose have to be super, super small to cross the cell membrane. All right, moving on to the next page. The formula for cellular respiration. You can use this right here. So as you can see, cellular respiration requires 2 things. It requires glucose, which is C6H12O6, and oxygen, O2, and it gives off or produces 3 things. So the 3 products that it's going to produce is carbon dioxide, or CO2, water, H2O, and finally, the star of the show, ATP, energy. This entire process occurs inside the organelle known as the mitochondria. This is the powerhouse of the cell. So that is where we produce energy in the form of ATP. And that structure can be found inside the cell. Right, so when looking at this reaction, glucose and oxygen are your reactants. So when we talk about reactants, these are what go into the chemical reaction. And carbon dioxide, water, and energy are your products. So this is what is produced or what comes out of the chemical reaction. All right. Now, that's all that I need to tell you today. Now, I know I rushed through that. I'm trying to make these videos shorter because I do tend to talk too much. But what I want you guys to do right now on your own, independently, before you submit this, is right here. In the space below, explain the different parts of the cellular respiration formula, so reactants and products, and name the organelle in which this process occurs in 2 or more sentences. So basically for this right here, I want you to describe cellular respiration in your own words. Okay, so please do not just copy and paste this sentence right here. I will mark that wrong. I want you to describe what's happening in your own words. So how is it going to help you remember what's going on? Okay, so one more time, let's just summarize. Cellular respiration is what gives our body energy. It happens in the mitochondria, right? And 2 things have to go into the mitochondria to make that energy. And we call those things reactants. The 2 things that have to go into the mitochondria are glucose, which you get from the food that you eat, and oxygen, which you get from breathing. But when we make when those 2 things go into the mitochondria to produce energy, we actually have 2 waste products that are created as well. And that is carbon dioxide and water. But because they're waste, because our body wants to get rid of them, we have to exhale them and get them out of our system. So we breathe out carbon dioxide and a little bit of water, so water vapor. Okay, but all of this process occurs with the sole purpose of creating ATP, which is energy. Okay, so cellular respiration happens in both plants and animals. It's what gives us energy. Now, hopefully that helped you being able to describe this in your own words. Okay, so go ahead and write that in this space below on your paper. And when you are done with that, click on the exit ticket. All right, that is all I have for you today. So tomorrow in class, we're going to be starting a project that has to do with cellular respiration and photosynthesis. So it's super important that you watch this video, which obviously you have. And you know, if you're still watching this video, I think it's about time for another super secret bonus question. So if you're still watching this video, my favorite color is purple. Okay, so if you're still watching this, go ahead and send me a message on Remind just with the words purple, and you'll get another bonus point on tonight's exit ticket. All right, have a wonderful day, guys, and I will see you tomorrow.